about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some of the things that Allah Azza wa Jalla has created, and the beauty of the things that He's created. And the purpose is again to kind of, the theme of this surah is talking about the hereafter, the possibility of the hereafter, and referring to the people, the Quraysh, the pagan Meccans who denied the existence or the possibility of the hereafter, where they would be held accountable for their deeds. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning, He shows the wonderful creations that He has created. And He goes all the way up to, did we not make the earth like, a bed for you, the mountains as pegs, and so on and so forth, and we made, sleep as a rest for you, and all of this we did for you, the rain that came from the clouds to give life to the plants. And then, وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا, and they create luscious gardens. And then right after that, it goes into verse 17, and the topic changes drastically. So from talking about the creation, like the sun and the sky and the clouds, rain, plants, vegetation, human beings, all of that, it immediately goes to instances or details of the hereafter. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْفَصْلِ كَانَ مِيقَاتًا, in verse number 17. Indeed, the day of judgment, or the day of fasl, it is and it was, and this is again in the past tense, كَانَ مِيقَاتًا, it was an appointed time, or it is an appointed time. And the interesting thing with the Arabic language, especially when Allah is talking about things that are going to happen for sure, is linguistically He refers to them in the past tense. So كَانَ مِيقَاتًا means it's already at an appointed time. This may not be a great example, but Allah is saying it's already been set at an appointed time. كَانَ مِيقَاتًا, the day of judgment is already set at an appointed time. And the word He uses for the day of judgment here, which we're translating as day of judgment, is al-fasl. And fasl literally means to distinguish between things, to separate them, to into categories and things like this. So to separate them, and also refers to mean to judgment. Why? Because when you separate the truth from falsehood, you're making a judgment, right, based on what is true and what is false. So that's where the word judgment gets the connotation from this word, but it literally means to set apart things from one another. So what is the day of judgment, or Yawm al-Fasl? Why is it called al-Fasl? Because Allah will separate people into different categories, right? To believers, into disbelievers, and then further down even more categories from there. Allah will distinguish between the truth and falsehood, right? Between what was actually true, what was actually false. Allah mentions many times in the Quran that on that day, يَحْكُمُ بَيْنَهُمْ فِي مَا كَانُوا فِيهِ يَخْتَلِفُونَ. On that day, Allah is going to be the judge, and He's going to make the judgments based on those things that people themselves used to disagree upon. And Allah, like you said, Allah will judge between the people themselves and the issues they had and the problems they had, and He will help to solve them, and He will give the final judgment on that day. And again, miqat, the word miqat just means an appointed time. And the message here again is that your rejection of the hereafter is not going to make Allah make it come faster. Because one of the things they were saying is, if this is true, make it happen now. Right? If this is really true what you're saying, make it happen right now. So Allah said, just because you think that it doesn't exist, or you're challenging it, is not going to make me push myself to make it happen now. It's already fixed at an appointed time, and this was done a long, long time ago. So here's the switch now, again, from talking about the creation, going straight to the day of judgment. And then He starts talking about some of the events or things that will happen either before the day of judgment or after the day of judgment, right? So some of the things that will take place, the last day that will take place, right? Or how things will happen. So He says, يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي السُّورِ فَتَأْتُونَ أَفْوَاجًا. This is talking about that day of resurrection. That will be the day the sur, the horn is blown, and you will come forth in afwaj, in groups, right? The translation says multitudes, but it refers, afwaj is a group of people. You will come forward in groups. Now the sur is something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, like we see in the Quran. It's a horn, and the way they define sur is basically what the picture you see here. It's the horn of a ram, right? It's the horn that's wide at one end, skinny on the other end. When you blow through it, it makes some kind of sound. And this is kind of the model that people have made modern horns and so on and so forth. When Allah mentions this in the Quran, that there is something called the sur, the horn, and it will be blown, right? And some of the scholars that disagree whether it will be blown twice or 3 times, depending on what's going to happen. The opinion that I tend to follow again is the one that it will be blown 2 times, as Allah mentions in the Quran, that there will be the first blowing of the horn and a second blowing of the horn as well. After the first blowing of the horn, everybody or everything will be destroyed, right? Everything will die, everything will be destroyed. And in the second blowing of the horn, فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِيهِ أُخْرَى فَإِذَا هُمْ قِيَامٌ يَنْظُرُونَ. That when they will be blown a second time, then everybody will be again standing, looking around, and they will be seeing the things that are happening then. So the second blowing of the horn, they will be resurrected. We know the angel that's going to blow the horn. Do you know the name of the angel that's responsible for blowing the horn? Israfil. Yeah, Israfil is the name of the angel responsible for blowing on the horn. Some of the ahadith, they mentioned that he's actually from the day he was created, or however, right now, he's actually holding the horn up and with his mouth to it, just waiting for Allah's command to blow it. And when he does the first blowing of the horn, that's the signal for everything to be destroyed and everybody to be finished off. This existence comes to an end, and then he will be made to pass away as well, and then he will be resurrected and asked to, or commanded to blow the horn again, and then the people will start to resurrect, and the first of them will be the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to be resurrected, and he will start whatever the process of the Day of Judgment. But فَتَأْتُونَ أَفْوَاجًا, then when this happens, you will come in groups, right? Again, we already talked about the groups. There will be believers, non-believers, and there will be further groups amongst them. Are the people that were hypocrites or people that were, righteous, ashabul yameen, and people of the right, people of the left. Allah will classify and divide people up as He sees fit. But He's saying this is going to happen on the Day of Judgment. وَفُتِحَتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا, and the sky will open up. Now the word sama, it means whatever is above you. That's the definition of the word sama, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean the sky that we see here. So whatever is above them on that day, فُتِحَتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا, and it will be like doors. So they will be like doors opening up. What does that mean? They have two different ways to understand this. Number one, it's a reference to the destruction of existence, meaning the skies will open up and whatever is happening, the barriers between the different heavens that we have, the 7 heavens or so on and so forth, will be removed and everything will collapse on itself and it will be destroyed. Another reference is to the descending of the angels, that the sky will open up like doors and the angels will actually come through, and this is on the day of resurrection, when the angels are coming and they're going to be doing their duties for carrying out the judgment and so on and so forth. They'll be guiding people and doing various things. But on that day, these things will be visible. So whatever will be above us, it will open up. And abwaba, like doors, means there will literally be many, many openings, and those things that were previously invisible to us, we were not able to see, we'll be able to see them. Like the angels and the sky opening up, and the angels will come down and they will assist in the matters that Allah wants them to work in. So this is something that's also described as happening that day. وَسُيِّرَتِ الْجِبَالُ فَكَانَتْ سَرَابًا. This is something that's talking about when the earth is being destroyed, right? When the earth is being destroyed and people are here and the first horn is blown, the mountains will be removed and they will be like a mirage. The mountains will be suyirat. Tasyir means to make something move or walk. That's what it literally means. And the reference is to the speed at which the mountains will be destroyed. Meaning you're looking at a mountain, it's huge, and it'll be gone so fast, because that's how fast destruction will happen. You will think it's still there, right? The dust or whatever is left over, you will think it's still there, you will think it's still in its place. And Allah mentions the destruction of these things in many places in the Quran, amongst them Surah Muzammil, where He says, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الْأَرْضُ وَالْجِبَالُ وَكَانَتِ الْجِبَالُ كَثِيبًا مَهِيلًا. On the day the earth and the mountains will convulse, will shake, and the mountains will become a heap of sand pouring down. There are different ways that Allah has, different descriptions that Allah has given of things that will happen. Right? So some of the mountains will just be gone away with. Some of the mountains will be destroyed and they'll crumble down and they'll just look like a heap of sand pouring down on itself. So these are descriptions of the day of the last hour in which everything will be destroyed. And again, Allah is giving us imagery still. He started with the imagery of things we can see, and He's talking about imagery of the day of judgment, the last day. And then He goes on to the description of specific abode, or the specific result of people who will be going to the hellfire. So He says, Inna Jahannama kanat mirsada. That indeed the hellfire is lying in wait, almost like it's preparing for an ambush, right? It's lying in wait. لِلطَّاغِينَ مَآبًا. Who is it lying in wait for? For the transgressors, it is a place of return, right? It is a place of return. Who the transgressors are, we'll see at the end of the surah, inshallah, or at the end of these group. لَابِثِينَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا. They will remain in there for ages. Ages upon ages will be their home or their abode for this amount of time. So, a couple of words we want to go through here. Jahannam, obviously it's a name for the hellfire. One of the names of the hellfire. Imam Taha ibn Ashur, he mentions that this may be a name that is taken from a different language and introduced to the Arabic language. He refers it to either the Hebrew language or some other language. But it's a name that is given to the hellfire that may be known in other languages as well. It's called Jahannam. Some of them say the definition, it means something of extreme heat and things like that. But Allah describes the hellfire as a mirsad, as a place that's lying in wait. It literally kind of means like a place of ambush. So if you think about it, that when people are waiting, they're waiting for the enemy to come by, they're hiding, and when they come by, they're going to grab them and take them and do whatever they can and imprison them. This is kind of the description that's being given of the hellfire, because it is something that exists, it's something that's real, it's something that exists now, and this is what the purpose of the hellfire is to be the place of punishment for the people who deserve to go there. We ask Allah to prevent us from ever entering the hellfire, inshallah. But this is what it is there, and it can be referred to as the reference is to the place itself or to the guards over Jahannam. Meaning that we know that there will be specific guards over Jahannam, the head of them, the name of the angel, you know, the head of Malik, right? Malik, right? Or Khazin al-Nar, the one who's going to be the guardian of the hellfire. There'll be angels that will be guardians as well. So it's also a description of the angels or the guardians of the hellfire. That how will they be behaving? They're basically lying in wait for the people that are supposed to be put to the hellfire, and then they're going to be watching over them, like guards watching over prisoners, right? So not letting them go, not letting them escape, doing whatever they are tasked to do. But he says this place is lying in wait for the taghin, for the transgressing people. The transgressing people, how are they transgressing? And what does transgression mean? Right? The word taghi or tagha in Arabic, it literally means when something goes above its limits. And Allah uses this to describe when the water rose above its limits, its borders, we held you in the ships. Talking about the people of Nuh alayhi salam. Right? So when the water went above the limits that it was supposed to go to. So taghin means you're crossing the line, you're going beyond what you're actually supposed to be doing. And this is called transgressing. So the word in English doesn't really give it maybe a quite a clear meaning, but the definition should be clear. That whenever you're crossing the limit, you're not supposed to cross. Whatever boundaries Allah has set, and you cross those boundaries, now you are acting like a transgressor. Right? You are a taghi or someone that's acting like a transgressor. So here, in the theme of this surah, how are they transgressing? They're transgressing because they're not accepting the fact that Allah is telling them there is a hereafter. You'll be held accountable for your deeds. The messenger is telling you the truth. These are the words of Allah. So this major type of rejection here is referred to as these people being taghin or taghun, meaning they're being transgressing these boundaries which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set. So we know that staying within these boundaries, believing in Allah, in the hereafter, in the Prophet ﷺ, these are this is a way for us to avoid this type of punishment. And لَابِثِينَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا, they will remain there for ages. Now, some people bring up issues with this word ahqab because they say huqab, it's saying that eventually they might be let out of the hellfire, right? People that are this type, that are rejecting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rejecting the hereafter, the ayah says they'll be there for ages. The parentheses in here says unending, but that's added, right? That's not what the word means. So ages upon ages. So that some people thought that maybe this will come to an end, right? And the truth is that's not really so, because the word itself, the word huqab or ahqab, it means a period of time followed by another period of time. So Allah is saying they will be in there for just these ahqab, for periods of time followed by other periods of time followed by other periods of time. It's a figure of speech, a way of saying for eternity. And in other places in the Quran, Allah is very clear, right? خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا, they will abide therein forever, right? They're going to stay there forever and ever. And this is only for people who are completely rejecting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the belief in Allah, or the hereafter, or the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he's describing the hellfire some more. لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا. They will not taste any coolness or any drink. Bard is something that's cold or something that's cool. They will not taste any coolness nor anything to drink except scalding hot water or scalding boiling water and ghassaq. And ghassaq is like pus is a way to refer to it. The liquid, the stuff that forms in the wounds, like when you have a major wound and then you have this liquid that forms in, and then they have to drain it and take it out. This is one of the things that will be given to the people of the hellfire as a punishment to drink. And you can imagine how disgusting it is, right? Disgusting, we can just to think about it is pretty disgusting, but this is what they will be given. And then right after that, because it creates an imagery of disgust in our minds, right? Boiling hot water, what happens when you drink boiling hot water? What happens if you're made to drink this pus that's coming out of the people that are being punished? It's a disgusting image, right? And we tend to think, wow, that seems like it's too much. And that's why right after that Allah says, jaza'an wifaqa, that this is an appropriate punishment. This is an appropriate payback because of what they did. And why is it appropriate? Because there is no sin that is bigger than rejecting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rejecting the fact that He created you, rejecting the fact that He put you in, He's the one that made you, provides for you everything. There's no sin greater than rejecting what He's telling you. So therefore, there's no punishment greater than the hellfire. Therefore, it is an appropriate punishment. That's the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we agree with the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is His decision to make, and this is what He has deemed to be appropriate. But right after that, He says, jaza'an wifaqa. Why? Because to our minds, we might think, wow, that's a bit too much. Right? But Allah says, no, this is actually an appropriate punishment for them. Also interesting note, لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا. The word barda, which is translated as coolness, can also mean sleep. That they will not have any sleep or rest in this punishment. That they will be abiding forever. Meaning it's a place of punishment, so it's meant to be uncomfortable. It's meant to be something that's going to cause discomfort and agitation and irritation and pain. So they're not going to have any kind of rest, nor are they going to have anything to drink, and for the coolness from the heat of the hellfire, nor any drink to kind of help them, to satisfy their thirst. And if they do ask for something, they'll be given hamim and ghasaq. They'll be given boiling water and the pus of the people, or their wounds, to drink. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا. So why is this an appropriate punishment? إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا. Indeed, they were not expecting an account. Meaning they were not even hoping or expecting or thinking that they're going to be held accountable for the things that they did. Right? وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. But when we told them that you will be responsible, when we proved to them you will be responsible, كَذَّبُوا. They denied our ayat, they denied our signs with an emphatic denial. They were very strong in their denial. Meaning they realized there's some truth in there, but they just still rejected it. For whatever reason they rejected it with. كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. And we talked about this in the introduction to the surah. Why is the belief in the hereafter so important? Right? Why is the fact that you will be held accountable for your deeds so important? Because that is what makes the difference between someone who wants to behave in an appropriate way and someone who wants to behave in an inappropriate way. Even in this life we have accountability. If we don't have accountability, then it tends to get to our heads and we might act in a way that's inappropriate. We might do things thinking we'll get away with whatever we're doing. Why? Because there's no one to hold us accountable. So Allah Azza wa Jalla in the hereafter has set the best accountability. He is the one that's going to judge, not other people. Right? Even when other people hold us accountable, they may make mistakes, they may take it easy on us, they may be harsh on us, but Allah is going to be just. But the fact is that every single thing we do or say, we will be held accountable for. And when we know that, that's when we fix our character, fix our behavior, fix the way we treat other people, fix the way we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we know it's going to be we're going to be held accountable for that. And this is why it's a very, very important set of beliefs. So when you reject this completely, you do what you want. You can be as corrupt as you want. You can take advantage of whoever you want because you don't think you're going to be held accountable for anything. Right? And this is where we get all sorts of injustice and tyranny and behavior like this in the world. And again, Allah says when they were presented with this, with proof that this is going to be real, then they still denied it. And Allah finishes, the next ayat will finish with this, وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ كِتَابًا. And Allah is reminding them, but every single thing we have enumerated in writing, meaning every single thing that you've done, you've said, is listed, is written down. فَذُوقُوا فَلَن نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. So taste, meaning taste the punishment that you're being given. This will be said to them when they're in the hellfire. فَلَن نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. For we will not give you or increase you in anything except more punishment, except more torment. And it's narrated that the Prophet ﷺ was asked, what is the ashaddu ayah fil Quran? What is the most severe ayah, severe verse in the Quran? And he's narrated, I've read this verse, فَذُوقُوا فَلَن نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. That when Allah will say to the people of hellfire, that taste the punishment that you're in, because you're not going to get anything other than more punishment. Right? And Allah Azza wa Jalla describes this in the Quran in Surah An-Nisa. He says, فَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِنَا سَوْفَ نُصْلِيهِمْ نَارًا كُلَّمَا نَضِجَتْ جُلُودُهُمْ بَدَّلْنَاهُمْ جُلُودًا غَيْرَهَا لِيَذُوقُوا الْعَذَابَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَزِيزًا حَكِيمًا. Allah is talking about the punishment He's going to give. He says, indeed, for those who reject our signs, we will drive them into a fire. Every time their skins are roasted, we will replace them with other skins so they may taste the punishment over and over again. Meaning they'll be given more and more punishment. And then Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَزِيزًا. Indeed, Allah is exalted in might, very, very powerful, very, very mighty, and Hakima. And He's very, very wise. And again, these images come to our head and we think, that's too much, maybe what is this, not appropriate. But Allah says, no, He's Hakim, He is wise. He is wise. So the decision He is making is a decision based on wisdom, it's a decision based on justice, and it's something that is an appropriate punishment for what they've done. So this is the end of these ayat. Now what is the connection between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about the creation, the sun, the skies, the planets, because one of the things we talked about, sab'an shidada, the 7 strong, maybe referring to the 7 major celestial bodies that the Arabs knew at the time, right? So things that they can see, the rain coming down, the plants coming out, and then immediately he goes talking about things of the hereafter. So the first 16 ayat, they're talking about things that we can witness, things that we can see. And the next 14 ayat, they talk about things that we can't see, right? The hellfire, the angels, the punishment, the suffering of the people on the Day of Judgment. So Allah is basically showing us why do you deny the hereafter? Look at these amazing things that I have made, right? The sun and the moon, the celestial bodies, the sky, the rain as it comes down. So the one who is capable of creating all of this is very, very capable of creating other things. And He has made you able to see these things, and He has made you not able to see other things. So what He's doing is He's saying, based on what you can already see, based on the order you already know exists. You know that Allah is there, you know He's controlling these things. So when He is the one telling you about the day of judgment, it's like your belief should be that just like we can see the sun, the sky, the plants, all of these things, the mountains and the earth, just like we can witness all these things, our faith in the fact that there is a hereafter, that there is a punishment for the people who choose to reject, that faith should be just as strong. And that's why the imagery is mentioned. Because just like you can see these things, there are also these things you can't see, but they're mentioned like you can see them. You can imagine them now in your head, what that must be like. And these 14 ayat talk about the people of the hellfire, the people who will reject. It would be like the major transgressors. And the last portion of this ayah, which we'll do next week, which is important to read, especially after you read this part, is the part that talks about the people of paradise, the people of Jannah. And that's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses both approaches, right? He uses the approach of creating fear and the approach of giving hope for the believer, so that they can balance themselves out. Unfortunately, what we talked about today was a lot of fearful things, right? So next week we'll have to wait for the hopeful things. But the things that, these are things that, the carrot, the stick, right? We need both of them. We need to be scared enough to make sure we're doing the right things, obeying Allah in the right way, and yet we have to have hope enough to know that we're not always going to be, even if we fall short, there's still hope for us, there's still forgiveness for us as well. So inshallah, the next week we'll go over the last few ayat that talk about the pleasures of Jannah, of paradise, and all these things. But this is what the purpose of these ayat are. Again, why miss the things we can't see after we can see them, or the things that we can see, to make the connection that Allah is the one that created both, and He is very capable of doing both of these things. And just like our faith is in that the sun exists, the earth exists, the mountains exist, we should believe that Jahannam exists, the accountability exists, the fact that we'll stand before Allah, that is true. That Yawm al-Qiyamah is haqq, that it is absolutely true, inshallah. We'll stop here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. If there are any questions or comments, inshallah, we'll take those.
I heard when you mentioned Ahqaba, I once heard one of the shuyukh mentioned that Haqib is about 80 years.
No.
What's your opinion?
No, that's true. That's one of the linguistic meanings of Haqab or Haqab or something is 80 years. And Huqab, with the Dhamma, they say it's a period of time followed by another period of time. So I think slightly different way, the way they pronounce the word or they use the word, the pattern of the word changes the meanings. Yeah. Oh, Amdiya Huquba, as the mention of Musa alayhi salam, and Khidr. Right, yeah, Musa alayhi salam and Khidr, like Amdiya Huquba. And in that sense it's referring to a period of time, which is like 80 years or something. But that is a linguistic meaning of the word. Yeah. But the fact is that it's followed by another period of time, another one, another one, another one. So it'll go on for forever. Yeah. Sure. Any other questions or comments? No?
You said that there's, I guess, a disagreement on whether the horn is blown twice or thrice.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for why there's?
Yeah, because the descriptions that are given are that the first blowing of the horn, it will create chaos and things will start to be destroyed. And then there's mention that the first blowing of the horn will cause everybody to die. And so, are they two separate blowing of the horns, or is it one in which both of the things will happen? That's just a disagreement based on how people have read the text. But my understanding is that the first blowing of the horn, both things will happen. That there will be chaos, there will be the destruction, and everybody will die. And in the second blowing of the horn, the people will be resurrected, brought back to life. Yeah. But it's just basically semantics.
Isn't there a time that no one will be alive, even the angel that?
No. Yeah. So after he blows the horn, everybody dies, and Allah will command him to die as well, and there will be nothing but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will be completely based on the text that we have, there will be nothing but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he resurrects Israfil, and then Israfil blows it, he commands him to blow on the horn, and then he blows the horn, and then people start to resurrect one at a time, or a few at a time, and the first of them being Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He described it himself, that he will be the first one for whom the earth will split open, and he will basically come out of the earth, the first one to be resurrected, inshallah. Any other questions? No.
So like the hisab and stuff is going to be like on earth?
It's going to be what?
Is it going to be on earth?
So obviously Allah's going to recreate something, right? He's going to create the gathering place, which is referred to as Arafah, right? Al-Mahshar, right? The place of gathering. Things will be recreated for us to obviously gather and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it'll feel like it's earth. Allahu Alam. Allah knows best what it really is. Yeah. Inshallah. Right. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم. These ayat were scary, but next week we'll be good, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah. What's wrong? Oh, the idea, yeah. It's always mansub? Or?
Yeah, it's mansub.
Yeah. Mansub with the ayah?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
When it comes to Muslim, but the linguistic language, which is one of the
Yeah. The English that I wrote?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Put it was an A at the end. Oh, that's right. It's confusing. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're right. Make it easier. Just like the ayah. Barakallah feek. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Also the transition.
Translations, I just took it off the actual translation. It's not always true.
Transition.
Yeah.
The meanings.
Yeah.
The first one from 1 to 16, then from 17 to
30. Yeah.
that's called التفات.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that because at the end it is different. فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم.
Yeah, the التفات, and now actually from 31 to
Yeah.
yes,
الغيبة لل.
that's another
Yeah.
التفات. And the التفات is it's one of the methods or the methodology that is very consistent in the Quran.
No, it is.
And that's just okay. Look here. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's
It was, we talked about it when we did Al-Fatiha. We talked about it when we did Al-Fatiha. It was very hard to explain in English
yeah, really.
because you don't have the concept of changing speech.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she, you. You don't have that in English. You don't have it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's hard for people to understand in English. But
Well,
yeah, actually, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Good.
How's everything?
Good.
Inshallah. Did they start recording? Oh, I saw recording.